Well, thank you so much. It's an honor to be here. It really is. This has been on the calendar for over a year, and I've so much looked forward to it. As many of you may or may not know, I was born in Wichita, and my mother grew up in a little town in south central Kansas by the name of Coldwater. My father spent time in Andover, and then later his family located at Moline, Kansas, which is in the southeast corner. So I'm a Kansas kid, proud to be here, and just really looking forward to talk about our leadership journey once we came here to Kansas City, when most people that we all sought counsel with about coming here said, don't go, you can't win in Kansas City. You know, we were fortunate to have great support from the Glass family, who allowed us to plan and experience failure and learn from our failures, and certainly proud to be a part of a fan base and a community that's been exceptional in supporting us, and you know, so we're just really proud to be here and represent the Royals, the state of Kansas, and you know, our great fans throughout the Midwest, and now I'm proud to say throughout the country.
Questions? I think getting right away to your signing of Cole Hamel the other day. Obviously, that was not easy in the wake of everything that has happened over the last 2 weeks. Talk about that signing.
You know, we didn't anticipate having to sign a starting pitcher. We had worked this off season to create some flexibility in our payroll, to do some things as we went deeper into free agency, and perhaps free us up for some flexibility during the year, as we knew we were going to have to continue to try to improve our team. Every organization does throughout the year. You're always massaging your roster in a way to match up better, to improve on your weaknesses, your deficiencies. Obviously, the unfortunate passing of Giordano, the tragedy, of course, and so therefore we had to fill a rotation spot. No flexibility in the payroll to do that. The Glass family said, do what you need to do to sign a pitcher. Jason Hamill had been on the market, and you know, so we were able to execute that deal, and again, just once again proving the great support of the Glass family, and allow us to go above and beyond our means to put a good product on the field. But he'll fit in our rotation, obviously. Was a 15-game winner last year for the Chicago Cubs, had an ERA under 4. He's proven that he can beat some of the best teams in baseball. We're hopeful that he can give us 180 to 200 innings and help stabilize our rotation.
Is it easier to get those free agents with looking at when you started in 2006 to today? I mean, do they give you those talks more easily because of the success?
No doubt, Amy. I mean, players, you're dealing with the best competitors in the world, and they want to win. That's first and foremost, and people talk about all the time about, you know, the money luring the player, and of course there's finances are a part of it, but these guys want to win. They want to be a part of winning environments. They want to win championships. That's how they're wired. That's why they've reached, you know, their ceiling as players. And of course, it helps that we've won. I like to think that our environment has a lot to do with that. We're very pro-family. Players understand that, they appreciate that, and you know, we've earned that reputation. And again, then always, you know, it comes down to finances at the end a lot of times, especially when you're competing with other organizations of like qualities. And you know, again, we're fortunate that, you know, our payroll, I think when we first came here was in the 30 million range, maybe 50, then it got up to about 50 or so. When we went to the World Series in 2014, we had a payroll of $96 million, which was substantially less than what San Francisco had at the time. And then the following year, we jumped up significantly into the 130s. It paid off for us. We went 5 games in the World Series. Ultimately, we won. Last year, we went up to 140, 181 games, and you know, we lost quite a bit of money. Therefore, as I said, we had to kind of readdress some things. But we've had opportunity to sign players based on, as I said before, I believe our environment, our culture, the fact that we believe that we can win, the belief and the understanding throughout the baseball world that Kansas City is a great place to play. The fans show up, the environment is strong, and so we're fortunate in that sense that players want to come play in Kansas City.
I'm going to follow up on that because you have a delicate balance of that formula, of a winning formula with the nucleus of the players that you have that have been together, Hosmer and Moustakas, and that group that has been together now for several years and has had that success. The balance of that with knowing that here in the next season or two, you're going to have to try to find a way to either retain them or replace them.
No doubt, and that's part of the reason we moved forward and made a move and traded Wade Davis to get back Jorge Soler, a player we control for the next 4 years. Jar Dyson for Nate Carnes, a pitcher that we control for the next 4 years. Young players are so crucial for the success of your baseball team, especially in our market, which is one of the smallest markets in sports. We realize that we're never going to be able to keep all of our star players to long-term contracts, but we've been fortunate in the past to be able to do that. The first we demonstrated was Zach Greinke and Joaquin Soria, and signed all those players before they were all-stars and Cy Young Award winners. We were aggressive in signing Salvador Perez to a long-term contract, Alcides Escobar. Obviously, we signed Alex Gordon to 2 long-term contracts now. So Danny Duffy, our most recent player that we feel is emerging into one of the top rotation pitchers in baseball. 28 years old, and signed him to a 5-year contract. And we got to look for opportunities to do that with others as well, keeping in mind that our ultimate success is going to be raising players through the farm system. That's why what we do in the draft, what we do internationally is so important to our success. And we're never going to deviate from that. We don't want to have too many of our players signed to long-term contracts, truthfully, because it hurts your flexibility going forward. That's why we got to keep graduating players, to the major leagues.
Well, talking Danny Duffy, I heard an interview where he said that he was part of the system as a teenager and played catch with Salvador Perez as an 18 or 19-year-old. Do you have any kids now in the system that you could see being the next Danny Duffy or the next Salvador, the next Richard?
Well, we hope so. I mean, obviously 2 very special players, special talents. And the interesting thing about both of those players that you mentioned, when Salvador Perez was coming through the minor leagues, everybody viewed him as somebody who could catch and throw, very similar maybe to a young Yadier Molina. Nobody ever thought he would really hit with much production. Now he's the all-time home run leader of any catcher in Royals history. He's a 4-time All-Star and Gold Glove winner, and we all know that. But what's separated him is just his passion to play, his passion to win, his personality to care and respect his teammates. And then Danny Duffy was a player that walked away from the game. And a lot of people didn't think he would ever play again. I mean, he was just burnt out on baseball. He was truly just a left-handed pitcher with a good arm, not much of a breaking ball, had some feel for a changeup, but not anybody that anybody ever asked for in trades or wanted to acquire. And those 2 players, they believed in themselves and end up, being pretty good players, obviously. So there's a lot of players like that in our organization, in our system. They haven't necessarily separated themselves yet. They will. This time last year, Matt Strom was a player who's a part of the Kansas junior college system, and he wasn't anybody that was on our radar, and he emerged to be one of our more dominant pitchers the second half of the season. So there's several talents like that in our system. That's the beauty of baseball. Players who can focus, who can commit, who can make good choices off the field, on the field, end up reaching their ceiling. And those 2 players that you mentioned made enough good choices, learned from their mistakes, and emerged to be pretty good players. I dance around that pretty good.
Again, it's a small market team, and when you start making runs like you've had the last couple of years, the importance of trying to keep your farm system intact too, because you know, during those 2 years, it was one of the best farm systems as far as being rated. How's it standing now after it obviously got beat up a little bit?
We graduated, you know, when we built this team, I mean, it was viewed in, I think in the off-season of 2010 as the best farm system in baseball. Some people said maybe the best farm system in the history of baseball. I don't know if that's obviously true. I don't know how they can necessarily evaluate that, but that was some of the things that was said and written. Obviously, that core group graduated to major leagues. They were fortunate to play in back-to-back World Series, win a championship in 15. We traded several players in our farm system, whether it be Will Myers, Brandon Finnegan, Sean Minaya, all first-round type talents to get back players to help us continue to win. We have to use our farm system. We have to utilize it in a way to bring us back talent, to supplement. That's part of who we are. Again, we don't make excuses for our market, but we have to use our farm system as currency. We have to be able to supplement our major league team, obviously with players through our system, but through trades as well. So if you ask me to evaluate our farm system, I would say it's very similar as it was back in 2008, maybe 2009. We've got enough quality, high-end talent, not as much depth as we're going to need to be. We've got work to do. Of course, we've been picking later in the draft. That's a difference. Under the new CBA, the rules are vastly different with how we can acquire talent. There's limitations on how much money you can spend internationally now. So there's some challenges. Again, we've got to look for solutions. We can't make excuses. And at the end of the day, nobody really cares anyway. I mean, you got to produce a good product on the field. So that's what we have to be able to do. So,
thank you.
And Mr. Sherholtz was a mentor. Is there any philosophies you brought with you that you're still using today? Or?
Sure. You know, John was always very good about hiring good people, supporting them, allowing them to do their jobs. He utilized his position to validate the judgment of others and demand excellence. John certainly was and is a tremendous leader. Understands players, understands the game. There's definitely a John Sherholtz model of leadership. I hope I fit in to that model as well. So, of course, I mean, that's, John obviously was with Kansas City. He was a general manager here in 1985 when they won a world championship, went on to Atlanta. And John really, in my mind, taught the Braves how to win. There was a lot of talent in the system at that time. They had just hired Bobby Cox to go, or reassigned Bobby to go back on the field, manage the team. Bobby was the GM, and so there was a lot of really good things in place, but John created that structure and that environment that allowed him to go on and win 14 division titles and one World Series championship in 1995.
When you look at this team now, compared to 86, 87, after the passing of Ewing Kauffman, and the team was basically left for dead almost. When you see how it is finally, I mean, because it was a long road and a pretty miserable one at times. When you being from Kansas, you're obviously very familiar with all of that. Talk about your feelings now as the team has progressed from.
Well, the great thing about
now.
The great thing about that was when we came to Kansas City, we'd lost a generation of fans. It was quite obvious that was simply the state of the team, the organization. You'd watch kids come into the ballpark, and the only time they'd ever come to the games when we played Boston or New York or a high-profile winning team. Their parents and their grandparents would have on Royals gear, and then their kids or their grandkids would have on Red Sox or Yankees gear, and we'd lost a generation. So the fact that we were able to win, we've grown and reinvigorated a new generation of fans where they can connect with the players. Of course, our players do an excellent job of connecting with the fans. They've been raised within the system to appreciate that and understand the history of the organization, where we once were, and a lot of credit goes to them, our coaches and our scouts, who have found the right players and instilled in them the importance of what we were, a model organization back during that period of time that you mentioned, and once again accepting the challenge to be a model organization once again. So it's a fun time. It's also a time where we realize that we got to continue to fight for that culture and continue to earn the respect of our fans, and keep competing for their attention and for the team.
When did you really notice the run was about to begin? A lot of people will point to the end of the 13 season with Maxwell's walk-off grand slam on closing day. When did you see it actually taking effect and to make that run?
No doubt the second half of 2013. If you recall that year, May was a disaster for us. There was a lot of people that felt that if it continued, that Ned Yost and myself probably shouldn't be, have the privilege to continue in our current positions. So it was a tough time. But then the second half, all of a sudden, our talented players began to produce consistently. And we had an 86-win season. I felt that we were going to begin to win. I didn't know we'd win championships, but I knew that we were in a position that we were going to be a strong, consistent, performing baseball team at that point in time, assuming we stayed healthy.
People wanted to work. Where scouts wanted to represent the organization, where coaches and instructors and managers loved working, where players wanted to play and raise their families. Simply, we wanted to create an organization we want our own sons and our own family to be a part of. It had to become personal. So let's just create the best environment that we possibly can. Well, I've never really hired a lot of people. Now, I knew that the leaders are the ones shaping your culture. I believe your environment grows from the ground up, but your leaders are the ones that shape your culture. And we had to hire a lot of people. And I wasn't sure that a lot of people wanted to work for the Kansas City Royals. And after living it for a few months, instead of feeling a sense of pride that I'm the general manager, I realized that the only reason I'm probably here is because nobody else wanted the job. But there was three things that I felt were absolutely crucial in the people that we brought in for leadership positions. One, they had to be able to apply moral principles in their life. And I would make that statement, and people would say, hey, Dayton, that's all good, but you know what, if they can produce, that's all that matters. Hey, Dayton, you know what, you're in the smallest market in all sports. You better get some people that can negotiate contracts. You better start winning negotiations with players. Yeah, that's pretty important. Hey, David, you better get some people that can evaluate talent. The Royals have missed on a lot of the picks. They haven't been the most astute evaluators in the past. You better get some people that can evaluate talent. Yeah, that's important. But you know what? There's nobody I've ever worked with or been around where their personal life doesn't leak into their professional life. We wanted people that understood that their team was at home. You got to be we want people to be great fathers, great husbands, great citizens in the community, represent themselves, the organization well. And I'm reminded all the time, as each and every one of you are, that when your giftedness, your talent takes you further than your character can sustain you, there will be a crash. You will shipwreck. And it's all about building trust with one another. Your character is so important. We won in Atlanta for all those years in our environment here. is based on people that have the ability and the desire to put everybody else's needs, wants, and desires first, and their own needs, wants, and desires second. So you got to be able to apply moral principles in your life. One of my mentors, a guy named Tim Cash, talks about the importance of evaluating the character of players. Tim breaks it down very simply. Ask yourself, who are the players' playmates? Who do they hang out with? And those of you in attendance today all understand, as parents, as grandparents, we've told our kids, show us your friends, I'll show you your future. Show us your friends, I'll show you your future. Who are your playmates? Who are those people that you are spending your time with? And let me tell you this, if the people that you spend time with, if they're not adding to your life, they're destroying your life. If they're not adding positivity to your daily existence, they are simply taking something from your life. Make sure you associate yourself with good people. Who are your playmates? Secondly, where are your playgrounds? Where do you spend your time? What occupies your interests? What's driving a wedge between you and what you love to do? Where do the players hang out? You know, it's not others that decide your future. You simply decide your future. And the secret to your success, the secret to my success, is simply hid in our daily routine. It's how we prepare. It's what we do to put ourselves in a position to be successful. So, who are your playmates? Where are your playgrounds? And then what are your play toys? Where do you spend your money? What type of luxuries do you continue to pursue? You know, one of the things, one of our greatest challenges in dealing with professional athletes, and it's no fault of their own, but many of them have the freedom and the choices of manhood, but they have the responsibilities of little boys. No fault of their own. It's how they're raised in this game. I'm a victim of that. To this day, I have trouble and difficulty with making some of the right choices. I'm not a perfect person. So moral principles in your life is crucial with the leaders. The second absolute with the people we brought on board, our leadership team, the leaders shaping the culture, was diversity. We wanted a group of people that would embrace and respect diversity. We wanted people that were going to hire others from different races, different backgrounds, different age groups, different levels of experiences. One of my mentors, a gentleman by the name of Bill Fisher, pitching coach for the Big Red Machine, actually pitched for the Kansas City A's at one time. He says something all the time, reminds me repeatedly, Dayton, if everybody's thinking alike, nobody's thinking. Well, you only get that if you have people from all different backgrounds, different races, different cultures, different experiences. Plus, it's a heck of a lot more fun to spend time with people who are different from you. And if you're trying to ultimately get it right, and you want to be the best, you need those ideas and those experiences from other people. See, I'm a victim of me. My experiences, my marinating life. I look at life through my own set of eyes. No matter how I try to put myself in another person's shoes. And it's an important quality of leadership to try to understand from the viewpoint of somebody else and what they're going through. It's hard for me to be able to do that. I can only look at life through my own set of eyes. I'm a victim of my own bias, my own marinating, my own experiences. I want other people around me with different experiences, different viewpoints on life. Thirdly, you had to be able to compete. You got to be able to compete. The desire and the ability to compete. And you can say, well, that's pretty obvious. Anybody who's ever successful, reached a high level in their profession, you've had to compete. All true. But you know what? It was Vince Lombardi, the great Green Bay Packer coach, that said the following: winning isn't everything, it's what? He said the only thing. Winning isn't everything, it's the only thing. But you know what? For us, it's winning for each other that isn't everything, it is the only thing. See, in baseball and in life, whoever manages failure the best reaches their ceiling. Whoever manages failure the best will reach their ceiling. Whoever makes a decision is, you know what, I'm not going to stay wounded. Yeah, I didn't get the job promotion. I didn't get the raise. Yeah, I had some tough things happen to me. I'm going to get past it. I'm going to embrace this challenge. I'm not going to stay wounded. I'm going to get off the mat. I'm going to keep pursuing excellence. I'm going to keep giving my best. Those are the ones that reach their ceiling. If you're competing for yourself, you will stay wounded. If you're competing for somebody else, your family, your teammate, your colleague, your community, your faith, you will get off the mat and you will continue to pursue excellence. Now, the lie that each one of us has been told our entire lives, and every generation since the history of mankind has been told the same lie. We've all been told, look out for you. Take care of number one. Heck, nobody else will. Get all you can while you can. That's the lie we've all been told. So it's natural for us to look out for self. And I understand that. And I'm no different. When my family is the most dysfunctional, it's because of me. I'm thinking of me, what I want to do, what I think is important. No, I got to serve my family. I got to serve my team. I got to put their needs, wants, desires first, my needs, wants, desires second. So we've all been told that lie, to look out for self. But if you can divorce yourself from selfishness and get rid of that disease, you've got a chance to compete for one another and ultimately reach your ceiling. Moral principles in your life: embrace diversity, compete for one another. Do you have what it takes? And by the way, this is the most difficult challenge in all sports. Most of the people think we're going to fail. I'm not sugarcoating anything. This is the challenge we have. You want to be a part of this. And I'm fortunate that we had a group of people that committed to come to Kansas City. And the world acknowledges that we were back-to-back American League champions. We won a World Series in 2015. I'm proud of that. You should be proud of that.